Okay, if I may get on camera here. Hi there. This is Larry Podzabinski, Podzoid, Dr. Podzabinski, Psilocybinski, whatever your name you want to call me, of the above, I approve of. I'm laughing. I wanted to make this video in part as a test of the new computer being processing the video. It seems to be much sharper on the shorter direct line into the computer. But I've added I don't know, a 16-foot extension cord, USB extension cord. But what was the point of making the video I was going to talk about was, oh, so many things happen in life, the older you get, I mean, but like in my case, I don't feel any older, in a lot of ways, I just emphatically feel like 30 years, some years younger. I mean, but I've lost 30 years of my life due to illness. Before I was recovered from it, to get another illness that jacks me up and keeps my shoulder down on that side. Usually it's because of the curvature of the spine to the left. So I have to watch and try to curve to the right, and it's an arduous way to live. Arduous, very hard way to live. It requires a lot of tenacity or intuition in the moment to figure what you need to do next, as far as medication or this, that, or the other, about physical therapy, stretches on the floor, and so it prevents me from going anywhere. I can go places, but I won't go alone. But I used to always do, up until about 5 years ago. Uh, but anyways, so I have a homemade now who runs errands for me and does some of the stuff like get the laundry out where it needs to be done instead of in, since I'm unfortunate enough not to have in laundry. But I could keep up on it, I think. But so do I work? Have I ever? I did it one time. It was a fun. I was young, but I had grown up and was in the city of Tampa, where I grew up. Spent 7 years, 15 to like turn 22. Uh, when I come to Ohio, where I'm at now, since ever since. But it's a different place though from the city. Growing up and going to high school on the north edge of the city, and then north of there, from the high school, was in the county or the citrus farms of some kind, or some kind of citrus or another, and what else did they grow? I don't know. There were the cypress swamps where the quicksand was, and the cows were said to disappear. I said, "Let's get out of here." But anyways, and there were the cow pastures where some of the guys who were from the county knew which pastures would have mushrooms in and which wouldn't, based on what the cows were fed. They knew the farmers, and so it was no big deal in those days. Until the 1970s, like talking about 50 years ago now. I mean, practically 50 years ago, or getting on that. I don't care to do math. Don't ask me any math problems. But so it was a fun time to grow up in Tampa and go to college there and take mushrooms on the weekends or the weeknights or the whatever, and show up at work the next day and be sober and straight and hold on job. I had one job a while. Worked my way and paid my rent, and it wasn't on any kind of assistance of any kind. I just, uh, well, I was diagnosed to take a medication through the mental health center at the community there, and at the edge of the University of South Florida at the time. But so they didn't think much of me, and I didn't think much of them. And I was glad to escape when I did to Ohio, where they threatened to lock me in the state hospital. But a lawyer said, if you want out of this one, you better leave. So my dad let me come to Ohio, where him and my stepmother was actually from, a nice little small town area, become rather metropolized for me to these days. I don't drive anymore. Can't handle other drivers, unexpected. They have to deal with their unexpectedness. Is a responsibility I don't want. So I got other responsibilities like taking medication that can't be tweeted with, and knowing me, or you can't mess with that. All right, because I got to have that, or I have problems. It wouldn't be right away, but it will be sooner than later without that. But a week or so, they told me it would be full blown again. And but people who read my book tell me, somebody told me, a lady told me a few hours ago. Now it's 5 a.m. She was telling me that you wouldn't know reading the person I described in the book of in the grip of paranoid schizophrenia, third edition. The book went to, but the personality I described, the way my mind was, who I was at the time, what I thought reality was, by that illness. If you want an understanding of that illness, schizophrenia illness, that'll give you a clear picture of what that'll disarray your mind and make you like totally lunatic. Conspiracy theories they talk about these days. I was the original conspiracy theorist, 1992 or somewhere, 1987, 92 to 94, when the cure was finally given to me in November. Another anniversary, the 28th anniversary this month now. So I got restored to sanity, and I've maintained it ever since. In my quest to prove that if you get medication that works, but you got to have doctors that are not boneheads and they'll work with you. And as I'm taking video over there, I can't see the screensaver came on the computer. But so anyways, you got to have doctors who are going to work with you in the first place. Or you're not going to get anywhere, and they're not going to get anywhere either. They don't realize that. If they don't realize that, they shouldn't be in the practice. So you got to work with the client to get them to work with you. And schizophrenia is deceiving. It makes you think there's nothing wrong with you, and it's a conspiracy, and people, little shadowy things and thoughts come around the corner in forms of voices and words and stuff from around the corner in the kitchen there. I might say over that direction, but so. Do I have that now? Not for 28 years. This month, I remember the first 48 hours. I'll never forget it. But I don't care to recant it here. I recounted it elsewhere. But I've written about it in the book. But it was enough to relive it at the time. But then you get older, and so then, I got to do something with my hair. I realized from watching these videos is why I wanted to test this video and show you my head is like, what would you do with that, if you was cutting hair? Do you want to look at that? What the hell would you do with that? Does that have to be shaved, or I don't want the whole head shaved, man. I want some hair on the side. It might freak me out. I've been a career long hair, way too long to have my hair just, well, my real mother, not my stepmother. My real mother is probably having her wish rolling over in the grave that my hair, I'm living to see the day my hair falls off, because I wouldn't get it cut the way she insisted as a control freak all my life, all her life. So I let it grow long in rebellion. That's why. But it was baby fine hair to start with. As a kid. So as a young person, I was losing hair. So to wonder. So it's a real fine job that needs done there. But I hope I find someone. I've got someone lined up. I hope. Can you trust her to work wonders and put her thoughts into what needs done best with the back of that? What would you do with the back of that? How else would you look at that hair on my head? Is like, and this is from the medication I've taken to stay well to schizophrenia. I just learned that this year, 2022. talking to a friend who said, well, she took that medication until she learned that it makes her hair fall out. Her hair fall out a lot. I said, what? And I looked it up, and in 30 years, nearly 30 years, they never once said to me, you're going to lose your hair if you take this medication. It keeps me well. But what would have been the argument? Can you exchange reality for giving up or being in touch with reality worth your hair? Uh, Obviously, I guess it would be worth giving up my hair, but I just wanted to look halfway presentable, and it doesn't right now. I didn't realize until I got this better video camera connection to process it, but so I don't know what to do with it. I just waiting to synchronize with uh, someone lined up, maybe. I don't know. I hope so. I hope so. Just something needs done with it, and then figure it out what to do. But how do you figure it out when every time I come, more of it comes out? But I've been doing that since I was 17 years old, and I'm like, how many years old? Decades older than that now, you know what I mean? But so and it still falls out. But it's just crazy. But it's from this hair loss and extreme hair loss by the one, and then the other medications I've taken for 20, 30, and then 20 years, respectively. So, so that's what I get from staying well. But you know, I was a typical average hippie type. You know, I mean, in the 1970s. You know, I mean, that was a long time ago, and I grew up in Tampa at the high school, and as an exotic backdrop to where else you grow up. I mean, the mushrooms were there. The friends from the county knew where the mushrooms grew, and so you learn to pick psilocybin mushrooms in your off time. Even sitting on the school bus, walking at the mushroom pasture across the street. As you got off the bus, if there was mushrooms there, you'd wait for the bus to leave and jump the fence and grab the mushrooms and trip. So just the way you grew up when you grew up in Central Florida in the 1970s. So anyways, they use that now? You know, Spravato is the prescription drug they made that the trip psychedelic they use for a 2 hour short-acting psychedelic to reset your brain for depression and from post-traumatic stress disorder and from anxiety and pain. And I'm not sure what all I read about it, actually. It's in my second book, that part of it, I think. But but so it's cool to survive in touch with reality, man. But you can't say what are you gonna do? Some people will say sue the drug companies. You know, well, did they even know when they made these drugs they were going to do that? This is 30 years later now. They've been invented, and we're finding out this is what definitely this data wasn't there at first when I looked at it 20 years ago when the internet became so high speed, and I studied all this schizophrenia stuff and medication and everything. I've been studying for years before that, already in medical journals, anyway. So I knew I was waiting for the second generation antipsychotic, and that's the ones that are making the hair loss really fast. Well, after 30 years is not a fast time, obviously, but it's when you get older, it is. So, well, I just miss my hair. I have a picture of me somewhere digitized from when I got out of the hospital, and I had long, good hair when they put me on this medication. And now look at me today. You know, I mean, I'm really aghast that I don't know what to do about the way I look. You know, I just don't mean to look this offensive, like Mountain Man #9 hairdo again. You know, it's like that again. Mountain Man #3 is it today? I don't know how it looks, but well, you know, God bless everybody. You know, I mean, or whatever you believe in. I mean, whatever you believe in, bless you. I mean, but. Whatever deity or deities, or I studied philosophy as a young adult in college for in my third year, and that was an interesting time. I wish I remember more of it, but I care to understand it when I look it up, but I can't understand it and care to understand it when I look it up of things like that. But philosophy wise, in life, there are over 4,000 recognized religions in the world today. It's an amazing number of different ways of independent ways of believing. You know, I mean, so that's what it was about, was independence and the ability to think for yourself, to make your own mind up. And that's what the government launched a war on, with the war on drugs that Nixon launched. And that's just the way that part of history gets into another sidebar subject of another video entirely, if that's ever to be, or if I haven't already made it already, or written about it somewhere. But when the best they can do, because it was Democrats super majority in the House and Senate in 1937 when it was made illegal, and President, I presume, too. But the Democrats take it off Schedule 1 because that's all you can do. You can't legalize it, pot. I don't like that word. Marijuana is an illicit word. It's a bigoted word. It comes from bigotry, and I refuse. I don't like it. I use the word cannabis. Pardon me, but I've heard it's more proper. So, but that was made illegal by Democrats. So it's only fitting the Democrats. All they can do is take it off Schedule 1, where Nixon placed it there. He was a Republican, though. So why this left-right and argument exists, even I don't even know. It's insane. I refuse to even listen to hear arguments one side or the other anymore. But because it just makes China, Iran, and Russia smile when the left argues with the right and the right argues with the left, and then you guys go back and forth at each other like fools. You are, and I refuse to participate in that as your fellow American or whatever, Earthling or whatever you want to call me. I mean, but I feel like an alien sometimes when I try to fit in and understand how to get along with people. But I'm just normal. I mean, I'm just not used to talking to people very often. Just a thing, but I do well in small crowds, not crowded places for me. When I was young, I did concerts and trips and all that in the 70s in stadiums and mushrooms and but in Florida, but that was a different time to go through so fast into retirement, and the way the place is becoming metropolized here freaks me into not driving anymore pretty much. That sucks, but so I just say peace and love to everybody who cares anything about anything, and the way the world should be or supposed to be or ought to be, or is it the way it was? It's surely degenerated, and drugs are the cause of it in our society. And who's sending them, and where are they coming from, and why can't we stop them? So that's what's pissing me off socially. The limits me socially is that. So I'm not happy because of that. How do I turn this video off?